Now we can actually do a bit of test case management inside the Selenium IDE. So we have this test case here, and right now it doesn't have a name. We can give it a name by going to the properties here, and we could call this test Selenium content. And that could be the name of our test. And we can actually add multiple test cases in order to create a suite of test cases. This is useful if you have, let's say, a batch of different test cases that are going to test some feature in your system, or depending on how you want to divide your automated tests. Now, I don't recommend that this be your main strategy for automated testing, is using Selenium IDE or recording tool. We're going to use WebDriver in the upcoming module, but this is something that you can do, and if you have members of your team that are not so technical, not so experienced, you might want to start off doing this and then later move to using a more programmatic approach. But let's go ahead and see how to create a new test case here. So we can just create a new test case, and let's go ahead and actually create a meaningful test case. So we're going to go ahead and go to record, and we're going to go into our browser, and I'm going to open up a new tab here. We're going to go to Google, and let's click this sign in button. And this is something that you might actually do in a real application. Let's check that if we type invalid in here and then invalid for the password, hopefully this isn't a real account, that it's going to tell us that this is invalid. So I'm going to dismiss this, and then we have this username or password you entered is incorrect. So let's verify that this text is now on there. So we're going to say verify text present, and that should be our test case here. So we can go ahead and stop the recording. And now you can see we've got our open, our click and wait. We're typing into email, we're typing into password, we're clicking and wait on the sign in, and then we're verifying that that text is present. So let's go ahead and run this test. And we're just going to click this one to run this exact test. And it happened real quick here. Let me slow this down a bit. And we can see that it actually ran and passed here. So we'll run this test one more time, and you can see that we ended up getting here. And if you look over at this, you have this username or password is incorrect. So now we have basically a suite of tests. We could name this one Google Login. And now, if we go ahead and run this entire suite by clicking this button, it will actually run both of those tests. First, it'll run our first test, and when that one passes, then it'll go and run the Google test. So you can see how fast those ran as well. So this is a pretty useful feature, and again, it is something that you might not want to use for your entire testing strategy, but it can be useful at times when you have some very simple things and just want to automate them, or you're getting your team up to speed on using Selenium. And you can actually see our test failed here because we still have this test 1 by browser.